இந்த ஒரே நிமிஷம் ஒரே நிமிஷம் ஒரே நிமிஷம் ஒரே நிமிஷம். யூடியூப்ல செக் பண்ணுங்க கோபி, யூடியூப் லிங்க். கட்சி நான் இதை அனுப்பிச்சிட்டு இன்னும் கெஸ்ட்டுக்கு அனுப்பவே இல்லை. கோபி இந்த கெஸ்ட்டுக்கு அனுப்பிச்சிட்டு இருக்கிறேன் கோபி 50 பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ்க்கு கோபி ஒர்க் ஆகுதுல்ல யூடியூப் கோபி கோபி அதான் சூப்பர் சூப்பர். அது அவன் போட்டானாலே நமக்கு சாட்டிஸ்ஃபைங் தான். 100 பேருக்கு அனுப்பிச்சிட்டேன். இன்னும் 2 செட் அனுப்பிச்சுன்னா முடிஞ்சு. அப்புறம் கெஸ்ட்டுக்கு அனுப்பிச்சிடறேன். ஒன்றும் கெஸ்ட்டுக்கு அனுப்பவே இல்லை. எப்பா எங்க ஆனா கோபி என் டென்ஷன் குறைக்கிறக்கா நான் பேசுறேன், தப்பா நினைச்சுக்காதீங்க. நம்ம இதாண்டு இல்லையே நம்ம போன்ல தானே பேசிட்டு இருக்கோம்.
हेलो। Good morning, everybody. So I wish warm greetings from BSNA College of Engineering and Technology, Department of Computer Application. So I'm Dr. M. Gopianand, hosting this webinar, How Artificial Intelligence is Changing Everything. So on this title, we are starting our webinar session. So on this great occasion, I just thank our BSNA College of Engineering and Technology Management, who has permitted us to organize this great webinar. And also I thank our beloved head of the department, Dr. P. Jagannathan, Professor and Head, who has warmly permitted us to do this webinar session. I also welcome our resource person, Mr. Sendil Periyasamy. As a resource person, he just given his note to give a session on artificial intelligence. I also wholeheartedly thank our webinar organizing coordinator team, Dr. Kupusamy, Mr. Jay Ganesh, and Dr. Rajkumar. So without their support, this would not have been happened. So I thank all these webinar coordinators on organizing this session. So once again, I welcome our resource person, Mr. Sendil Palanisamy. He is a senior IT consultant, works at Lenovo Data Center Group. It is a legacy of IBM. He has 12 plus years of vast experience in integrated solutions, seizing and configuration of hardwares and softwares in the area of cloud and high performance computing, data analytics, and artificial intelligence. He has traveled to various countries, around 10 countries in the European continent, Asian continent, and other parts of the world. He has delivered many lectures throughout the world. He just works for Indian government, US government, and also for private top CMM level companies. So I warmly welcome you, sir, Sendil Periyasamy, to deliver the session. So before going into the session, we have a small video on this session. Thank you. I just welcome the participants who are
Sir, you need to unmute yourself.
welcome the participants from various colleges. This session on artificial intelligence will be about for 1 hour. And participants who want to ask any queries, they can post their queries in the comment session, which is available in your YouTube live at the end of the session. So we will read out those queries and post to our resource person. He will just respond to your resources, queries. So this session would be a lively session for 1 hour. Hope you would enrich your knowledge on artificial intelligence. I just ask Mr. Sendil Palnisamy to take over the session. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I am Senthil, and I work for the company called Dinovo. And yeah, the organizing team has given me introduction about the college and what you're doing. So thanks for organizing the session, the webinar on artificial intelligence today. And so yeah, let me start off with the introduction about artificial intelligence. So if somebody don't talk, please go on mute. If there is a question, you just put it on the YouTube channel, and the questions will get answered at the end of the session. So for today, for this webinar, I will be talking about artificial intelligence, an introduction, and how it is changing the lives. So I'm not going to talk about the internals and technicalities of it, because I know there are students from various areas. They are not only from the computer science background. So I just wanted to cover basic stuffs and how they are, how it is getting useful in the day-to-day activity what you're doing, right? So first you need to understand the terminology, artificial. So what is artificial? Basically something which is not natural, we call it as an artificial system. So anything you take it as a electronic or a machine, anything which is not natural, which is not actually created by the man, which are called artificial. And the intelligence is something which can understand and act upon it. For example, human brain. Basically, human brain takes some concept and understands it, and it delivers in a different way. So something which can think, learn from it, and deliver it, which is intelligence. So when you're combining these two, something which is artificial, but it can intelligently think, learn itself, which is called artificial intelligence. So we know the human brains is completely different from what computer works, right? Computer, as in, it's just a machine. Whatever you instruct, it does. So if you give arithmetic program a plus b, so you give two numbers, it can add and it can give you the result. So it cannot do more than that. So the system is, a computer can deliver what it is programmed to, but a human brain is something different. It can think, and logical thinking, everything comes from your brain and the nerves, right? So when the human brain and the machine combines together and gives you a product which is called augmented human intelligence, that is where you will get artificial intelligence, right? So the goal of the AI is something, it can intelligently and independently work whatever the human is doing on a day-to-day basis. It can work for you. Using the artificial intelligence, you can make the machine work for you on behalf of the human, right? So before getting into terminologies of artificial intelligence, let me just talk about big data. So basically, as a computer science student, or who has computer science background, we know what is data. See, data is something, the files or anything in the form of computer is handling, which is called data, right? It can be a text, it can be a Word file, or it can be a video, audio, any kind of pictures, all are called as data. But what is big data? Big data is something kind of data which is huge amount of data which is stored in a database or in a storage platform. You cannot segregate by something like a database. So the database, you have row, column, you can easily segregate the data format. But big data is something which has combination of multiple data, multiple types of data. So let me give you an example. So take your phone. So phone itself, within your phone, you have a lot of data of various types. Like you have text messages, and you have call histories, and you have emails, or maybe some chats, WhatsApp chats, or Facebook posts. So these are different kind of data, but it is stored in your mobile phone. If somebody is coming and asking for some data, only you know where the data stores. A system cannot go and search for you. So combination of different kind of data in the huge amount is called big data. So what do we do with big data? So people who are working on sales and marketing, they do a lot of things with big data. So for example, you use Facebook and Twitter. Most of you guys are using Facebook and Twitter, right? So you do like pages, and you comment pages, and you are active on some area. So what these people will do is, based on your interest, they will suggest you some brands, and you will go buy it. So according to the recent survey, says 67% of Twitter and Facebook users are buying the brand which they do follow on these social media. So how do they do this? Another example, you guys are using online purchases, right? For example, you're going Amazon.in and looking for some product. So in this screen, what you see is a camera. So when you're trying to buy a camera, and you would have seen in the bottom, this product frequently bought with some other. Like when you're buying a camera, the system is suggesting you to buy a bag, and you to buy a memory card or a tripod, anything which is related to that. But have you ever thought how the system will know when you're searching something, what are the related products to what you're searching for, right? And similarly, when you search something, and next day when you log in again, it will show you these are the recommendations for you based on your search history. So all these things in the background, they are having a lot of data, the search data and related data, and using an artificial intelligence program, the system itself will automatically suggest you, this is what you're searched for, and this is the related product for what you have searched for. So these all in the form of one form of artificial intelligence, right? So let me go to the terminologies of AI. Basically, you have the outer layer called artificial intelligence. Inside you have machine learning and deep learning, right? So artificial intelligence, yes, I have talked about already, and machine learning, which is something external program. You need to do some kind of external program, but not extensive program. You can instruct the system to do some sort of work. And deep learning is something a deep neural network forms, and I'll be talking about in detail in the later slides. So these are the three terminologies which is used in the artificial intelligence area, right? So I will take an example. Okay, everybody using mobile phone, and you use camera, and you take selfies. Whenever you're taking selfies, so the camera application is detecting your face, right? When you're smiling, or it is able to detect where the face is, right? Have you ever thought how a camera application is detecting the face where it is? Because camera is just a camera, it's just a lens, right? It doesn't have anything more. But have you ever thought how a camera application, a mobile phone camera, is able to identify where the face is, right? So this is some kind of intelligence, right? The camera application has some kind of intelligence. Yes. So the facial recognition is one of the artificial intelligence program which is feeded along with the camera application so that it can find where the face is. So let's see how it does for you. So first it has to understand how the face will look like, and it has to do pre-processing. It has to zoom first and take the resolution and brightness, everything, and it has to extract the feature of the face, and finally it recognizes it is face. So features of the face means what? So basically the system has to understand if it's able to find eyes, so that means the eyes should be like something like this, and nose and mouth. So the system needs to understand if there is in this form of image, then it should be eyes, then it should be nose. So combining, the system understands it is the human face, correct? And yeah, I was talking about machine learning and deep learning. So what is machine learning? You are trying to do some kind of prediction. That means you are feeding in image to the computer, to a system, and the output what you are expecting is the image is car or not. So for example, so you're just giving a photo of one object, and you are asking the system whether that photo there is a car or not. So for that, what you have to do is, in machine learning, you need to extract the feature of a car, and you need to teach the system. That is called, we are making the machine to learn. So if there is a car, and car has to have 4 wheels and the headlights and the doors, so you need to instruct the system to make it learn if the system sees something like this, something in round with this kind of color, that will be a tire. So those kind of information you need to extract the feature of it, and you feed into the system, and the system will learn this is how the car look like. Once the system learned, and later you can feed in any kind of image, and the system will tell you what image it is, whether it is car or not. So that is the example for machine learning. And for deep learning, you don't have to extract the feature. The system, the program itself extract the feature of the object what we are feeding in, and finally it will give you an answer whether it is car or not. So that's the basic difference between machine learning and deep learning. So I'll give you another example. So earlier I was given car as an example. Now we just take 2 different objects. So one is tomato and the other is cherry. So how you will extract the feature? So basically the color, the size, maybe tomato size is different or bigger, and the cherry size is small, and the stem of tomato is different, and cherry stem is different. So human, while you're doing programming, you need to extract the features of the product, and you just make the system learn. Otherwise, in the deep learning, you need to give lot of photos of where you have tomatoes and cherries. So finally the system understands, okay, the cherry will look like this and tomato will look like this. Later it can divide, okay, when you're feeding in one cherry's image, the system will tell you whether it is cherry or whether it is cherry or tomato. So yeah, you will be wondering like where and all it is useful. So I'll take another example. You're feeding in lot of dogs photo, and the system will learn how the dog face will look like, and how basically the structure, the body structure of dog. So you need to feed lot of different photos of a dog so that it can understand the different variety, different poses of dogs, different colors of dog. Finally, it will tell you when you're doing the inference phase, it will tell you whether it is dog or not, or whether it is dog or cat. So these are some examples. So now we are wondering, so how it is useful in the real world, right? So take the real world use case. When there is a stolen car, you are reporting to the police department how they are able to find. So the government has installed CCTV camera everywhere, and with the photo of your car, they will match it to the car which is on the street. So from the which is extracted from the CCTV camera all over the place, so that this technology will help you to find the stolen car, or to find a thief. So these kind of use cases are there in the real world because of artificial intelligence, right? So there is another concept called multi-object classification. So people writes in a different way, right? So in this example, what you see is somebody is writing 9. So different people writes in a different way. But as a human, you have some intelligence. Okay, 9 will be something like this. As a human, when you see, okay, this is 9, you will understand easily. But as a computer doesn't know. Computer knows 9 is something like one format. It doesn't know if somebody is writing in a different way. Computer doesn't know. But how we are making the system understands this is how 9 can be, because various people write it in a different way. So what we have to do is we have to give lot of inputs of various numbers to the system, and the system will divide that numbers, that images, into multiple small pixels, and divide into multiple convolutional layers. That is called the neural network, what the artificial intelligence is using. Then the system will learn how the people are writing the numbers in a different way. Once it is learned, then you just write in a paper and feed into the system, then it will tell you what number it is. So where it is useful, when you're scanning a paper, you just write it in a paper and you scan it, it will give you as an image only. You cannot search on the image. But if system understands what you have written on the page, then it can convert from the scanned paper to a text. So those kind of use cases for this kind of multi-object classification. Similarly, for the facial recognition, it is not only for the camera application or your selfies and face unlock, not only for the cameras and mobile phones. This uses, there are multiple use cases for this. So I'll tell you how it is doing. When you're feeding in a face, so it extract the face detection, and as I explained already, it will detect the high level features, how the nose and the eyes and the mouth, and further it will divide into multiple small pixels to understand how the human face is. So earlier we have seen the mobile phone example, like the system will understand only the face. When there are two eyes, one mouth, and one nose, then it will understand it's a human face. But the system doesn't know whose face it is. When it goes to deep neural network, the system can understand whose face it is. For example, you are feeding in lot of your photos to the system, various poses with various colors, with beard, without beard, with mustache, without. So various photos you are feeding into the system, then the system will understand your face, the person's face, what we are feeding in. So where it is useful, right? The fraud detection, correct? So again, I am going to the same example of police department. Police department might have the database of existing criminals. So they have the photos, right? So they'll be maintaining a database. When you are finding a criminal's photo in a CCTV camera, simply they will take that image and they will compare with the database what they are having existing data. So they can compare and they can find out easily who is the thief it is, whether it is the face is matching or not with the existing list of criminals. So this is one kind of real-time use cases. And the other way is, you can when you have multi-object detection, you can find out the brand of the photo what you have. You just take a photo of multiple brands, but you don't know what brand it is. So still you can use the artificial intelligence program to extract what brand it is. And for example, you're just going into a shop and you find a bag. So, but you don't know what is the price of it, what is the brand, and what is the features of it. So you just take a photo, search with that the bag's image, and the AI program will search in the background related information. It can extract the related information and it can give it to you. So these are the real-time use cases for the image recognition, right? The other concept of AI is natural language processing, which is NLP. We call it as NLP. So how it is useful? So, and where we are using. So you people are using Google Assistants and Apple Siri and Amazon Alexa. So all these things are how it is working in the background. When you're asking the Alexa to order a food on the Pizza Hut, right? How the Alexa, how the Google Assistants knows, how it can understand, because every people talks in a different way, and there may be a grammar mistake when they are talking. So there will be different way of talking, but the Alexa or the Google Assistants, how it is understanding how you're talking, and it is taking action based on it. So you're asking the Google Home to play a music for you. You're asking for a particular song from particular movie, and how it is searching that song and it is playing for you. So in the actually you're talking to artificial intelligence program without realizing it. You don't even know whether you're talking to an artificial intelligence program or not. But actually, AI code running on that device, it can understand what you're talking and what you really want. Based on that, it will take an action, right? So how it is actually doing. So there are algorithms like vector machines, Bayesian understands. It uses the natural language processing, and it understands how you are talking and what you want. Based on that, it takes an action. Similarly, you will be using the chatbot, right? So there is a robot or bot sitting behind. When you're asking question, it can give you an answer, right? You guys would be using IRCTC for booking your train tickets, right? Have you ever noticed there is a chatbot in the right bottom of the screen, right? So that is one of the chatbots. You ask a set of questions and it can understand what you're asking, and based on that it gives you an answer. So there is nobody sitting behind and take your question and answering to you. There is no human sitting there. So that is a chatbot sitting behind. That means a chatbot program, AI program sitting behind. It can take whatever the question you are asking. Based on the question, it can give you an answer. So this is another way of natural language processing, which means when you're typing something, it has to understand first. So it has to take the word and the sentence, and it understands the question. Based on the question, there are list of answers fed into that AI program. Based on your question, it has to search for the relevant answer. It has to give you. Again, Google also uses the same NLP, natural language processing, only for your basic Google search, right? So, and the other area of in science, the artificial intelligence programs are used. And for example, the AI code, how it is now, you know, the COVID-19 is the biggest problem for everybody. So far there is no drug found, but you can still use AI to prevent or to make the people aware, right? As a government, they can go ahead and develop an artificial intelligence program to find out the people's temperature, how much the temperature it is. If it is more than that, you need to isolate them. So instead of going and taking the temperature of everyone one by one, so there are programs which can be used on the thermometers, so that you can randomly check people the temperature, how much temperature it is. So similarly, for cancers and liver tumors, so all these things can be used nowadays. The artificial intelligence can be used to detect how much the cancer is growing and how much the liver tumor is growing, the rate of it is going, whether there is a liver tumor or not. So all these things can be done using artificial intelligence. Similarly, with the image classification as a basic concept, you can diagnose the liver tumor or the cancer. So all these things are used on the medical area as well. How it is used for a better quality control. Let's take Coca-Cola as an example. In Coca-Cola factory, right? So they would have made an artificial intelligence program by giving various photo of the Coca-Cola bottle, and they would have make the machine to learn how the Coca-Cola bottle should look like. And when they install that program on the manufacturing area of Coca-Cola, the factory, there is no need of deputing a person to do an auditing control. So the quality control, there is no need to deploy a human there. So the artificial intelligence program itself can do that for you. So you can look at the example in the right side of the screen, where the first photo, the system, the AI program detects it is a Coca-Cola bottle. It is 78% it is a Coca-Cola bottle, but 22% it is defect, because the logo is not good as it is supposed to be. And the second one, you can see the system detects it's a Coca-Cola bottle, 70% it is defect, because it's the bottle is tint, right? So the system will tell you, okay, this is the defected one. And the last one, you see 97% it says Coca-Cola bottle and it is good. So which means the last one is good. It can be go for the next level of the production. So these are the things which can be used in a real time. So it will be helpful for the manufacturing industries to reduce the workforce, and it can increase the efficiency of the manufacturing capabilities, right? And in the automation, similar concept can be used for the factories automation. You don't have to deploy a person to do the same work again and again. The system will detect if there is a some kind of problem in the product what you're producing. For example, you have some kind of electronic machine where the screws. So you can feed lot of images of a perfect screw fits into a electronic product. So you just feed in a lot of images of that to the system, and the system understands, okay, this is how the perfect screw to fit a electronic product. So once the system is realized, then you feed in that image, that program to the camera which is on the factory, so that it can detect automatically if there is any defect. So the same concept which is used in the camera application of your mobile phone. So concept is same, but the use case is different. The same concept, you feed in a lot of human photo, and finally the AI program will understand the human face, which is used for the camera applications of your mobile phone. The same concept applies in the industry. You feed in a lot of images of perfectly fit of screws in an electronic device, and you make the system learn, and you use that program in the camera which is installed in the factory, so that it can detect defect for you in the manufacturing. So the concept remains same, but the use cases are different. And the other area where the AI uses is in the storm detection, basically on the weather forecasting. So every government has the image of the satellite image of the history of satellite image. So for example, like last 30 years, there are images which is taken on the satellite. So those images are there with the government. Okay. And what those images can be used for. With that image, the government can use an artificial intelligence program to predict how the cyclones are forming, when the rainfall will be like. So for example, last year, the same day, May 29th or May 30th, how the sky was looking like with the image of May 29, 2019. Similarly, May 29 or May 30, 2018. So they can compare all the images of like past 30 years, and they have the data, and they know the data, how much the weather, how the weather was in June 1. With the history of data, they can predict how the weather will be for 2020 June 1. So this is another example, another use case of artificial intelligence in the area of weather forecasting, right? And still you can know whether there is a the cyclone is forming or not. You can see the first line when there is a cyclone forming. So you can see the round kind of image from the satellite. So they are positive samples. So when you can see an image, something similar to the round which is coming from outside, maybe even the weather scientists can understand even more. If it is something look like there is a positive way that there will be a chance of forming of a storm or a cyclone, right? But if it is negative samples, you can look at the images which is in the bottom. You don't see something similar to the above one. So which means they are negative samples. When you see an image from the satellite, this doesn't look like a cyclone is forming. So this will help the government or the weather organizations to predict whether how the weather will be, or is there a chance of cyclone is forming or not. So these are the real-time examples of using artificial intelligence in the real-time use cases, right? So how to deploy that? You have, earlier I was talking about the big data, which means you have a lot of data and you need to train the system, and finally you need to deploy. First you have, since I have talked about the image as an example, you have a lot of images stored on your database in your big data, and the next phase is to take the data and feed into the system and train the machine using the deep neural network, using the machine learning and deep learning programs. You train the machine and you deploy the model. Finally, it goes to the inference phase. Inference phase is the one where we are actually using. So again, I gave you an example. The actual use case for one is on the mobile phone camera application, and the other use case is on the CCTV camera, which is applied by the government. Maybe other example is the cameras which is installed on the factories. So the concept remains same. You feed in a lot of data and you train the machine, and the use case is different for mobile phone application, or for the fraud detection, or for the quality control in the manufacturing. So this is how the deployment of artificial intelligence end to end, right? And so to do this, to train this, it's not that easy. You just take one personal computer and do this training. No, you can't do that. You need to have lot of computers meaning lot of servers, which has more CPUs and GPUs. So for this kind of artificial intelligence program, you need to have a lot of graphical processing unit where it has a lot of small cores. It does the computation for you. So you need to have a bigger cluster to do this training work, right? So how the cluster, for example, we'll take as a cluster, how it will look like. A big data which is stored on a big storage where you need to have a lot of servers and a lot of networking. You need to connect all the servers together, and you feed in the big data. When the data grows, you need to increase the storage capacity and use the servers which is connected in the cluster. You just train the machine and finally deploy it in an application. So this is how the life cycle of the AI implementation. So basically big data, and you train it, and finally you do the inferencing. Yeah, so towards the end of this session, so I'm not going in depth considering the basic uses of the basic students. So now you will have a question whether the machines or the AI programmed robot is replacing the human. So that will be a question in your mind, right? But if you ask me, not really, because the system, again, it is a programmed computer. Whatever you tell, then it will do that for you. Similarly, you train the system and it does the work for you. So there is a human intelligence needed to train the program. That means the artificial intelligence is not replacing the human brain. Human's brain is still superior, but you can use your intelligence. You can make the system little more intelligent than what it is programmed to do. Then you can do the work, the repetitive work what you're doing. Based on that, you can use those AI programs to use in your day-to-day life to reduce the human effort. Right. So yeah, so that's it. So whatever we have seen, it is just a tip of an iceberg. You just saw a glimpse of what the AI the industries are using. So I just wanted to give an introduction how the artificial intelligence is changing the world, and it is going to change the world. That is what the motive of this this webinar. And yeah, so now it is open to the question. If there is any question, maybe organizers can just read it out for me so that I can answer as much as possible. Organizers, over to you.
Artificial intelligence.
Thank you, Mr. Sindel. So you have enriched the knowledge about the artificial intelligence.
Help to solve this quantum.
So there is a question from PSNA College. How this artificial intelligence topic would help us during the emergency period such as this lockdown or COVID-19. So such type of emergencies arises in the future. how artificial intelligence can tackle?
Crisis kind of the COVID crisis you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
So COVID crisis, yeah. So there are different aspect of this COVID, because one is to prevent the COVID, which is getting spreaded among the society. That is one thing, and second thing is finding a drug for it and finding a vaccine for this, right? So finding a drug, yes. So the scientists are still using the artificial intelligence, as I explained already in the how the AI is used in the medical area. Similarly, they are trying to find how the COVID virus is getting spreaded. So what is the pattern of getting spreaded? Based on that, they are doing a research on finding the drug for COVID-19. And similarly, to prevent it, you just need to find the temperature of human. If it is more than the certain level, you need to isolate them. So those areas also the AI programs are getting used. And finally, you need to find a vaccine. So similar concept, when they are finding for a drug, the same concept is applied for finding a vaccine for the COVID.
So thank you, Sendil. There is one more question from Government Engineering College Bodi. Mr. Satish Pandian has raised this question.
Okay.
So how people, rural people will feel when artificial intelligence programs has been enforcing the remote areas in forthcoming decades?
Pardon me, I'm trying to understand the question. Can you just repeat once again?
So people without the knowledge, so when computer was introduced earlier, people felt harder to just get into the technology.
Correct.
So it was a decade that people took to get into this computer field, computer automation. So
Right.
such wise, when artificial intelligence is dominating the world, so how the people will be just getting into it? Will they face problems more, or they will cope up with it?
No, not actually. There is no problem they'll face. Actually, there are little bit of jobless comes in. I mean, job crisis, because somebody is doing the repeated work using human, but that can be replaced with an artificial intelligence. So there will be some kind of jobless, but still it can affect the what do you call, the labor work, which happens on the computers, but it cannot replace the human's brain where it is used.
So when artificial intelligence has been imposed in our country after this pandemic situation, so will the cost of implementation will be taking more as our economy is going down?
See, the cost of implementing these are really high. As I mentioned already, you need to find an use case, and during the implementation of an AI, you need to invest a lot. So finally, the use case is different, but implementation is a little bit of expensive. But yeah, that is how the design is. You need to invest a lot to implement it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. So Dr. Anita Tangasamy, she has raised a question. How will it be useful in machine learning data analysis?
Machine learning data analysis. Yeah, machine learning, that's what in the second slide I was talking about. Data analysis is the first concept. So when you have big data, you need to do an analysis using the data. The same example, the Amazon example, which I have given. So you will be searching a lot in Amazon, right? So for today, you'll be searching for a camera, and tomorrow you'll be searching for something, the home appliance. These are different data stored on the Amazon database, and they are doing analysis for you in the background based on your search history. Using the machine learning, they can just suggest you something. This is what you are going to buy. This is what you are searching, and these are the related products. So that's how the machine learning is implemented using the different data, the big data.
Thank you. Varsha from Mangair Karsi College of Engineering, Madurai. She has raised a question. How does artificial intelligence help us in typical situations instead of living in unknown country with known persons?
Unknown country with known person. Okay. So if you're living in an unknown country, which means you don't know the local language, wherever you go and you see the boards, but you cannot read what the board says, or people who talks the local language, but you don't know how to interact with them. So I personally faced this problem when I was in China last year. China people doesn't understand English, so I don't know Chinese. So how did I interact with them? So there are similar the camera application which has the artificial intelligence program to recognize your face, right? Similarly, the same the other concept which I was talking about, the natural language processing, that is another concept which also can be implemented on your camera application. You just open the camera and just show it on a name board. It will translate from Chinese to English immediately, so that you can understand what the sign is saying. Similarly, when you're talking to somebody, you just talk to an AI program in English, that will translate to the local Chinese, and it will instantly give the message to them. So that is how you can interact with the local people. So these are the real-time use cases for when you're away from the country, different countries, the practical problems can be resolved with these kind of programs. Yeah.
So exactly, Mr. Sendil. Even Japan also will be facing such type of problems, as they'll be using only Japanese languages.
Yep. So nowadays, yeah, Japan, Tokyo kind of cities, you will not face problems. When you go out of Tokyo, yes, still Japanese is the only language spoken by the people.
Yeah.
Those are the real-time problems.
Even people working in software industry, they are supposed to learn Japanese language to work in Japan.
Exactly.
Also.
Yeah.
So there is another question, Mr. Sendil. Ranjani, she has raised a question. What are the algorithms used for classification in artificial intelligence?
Classification, you mean image classifications? For image
anything.
classification, so yeah, anything like you have a lot of frameworks developed by the tech companies. There are frameworks, TensorFlow, developed within Google, and there is another framework called Caffe, which is developed by Intel and Neon. There are multiple frameworks. They still go ahead and search when you're trying to implement, but the majority of them used for TensorFlow, Neon, and Chainer. There are multiple frameworks are available in the machine learning.
There is another question. I don't know his name. He has just given his nickname. So what type of applications can be used for developing using AI process?
What kind of application?
Sorry, which application can be used for developing AI process?
Okay, so for the development, you can basically use R programming. There is a program, and you can use Python as well to develop the AI programs. But still, Python is really helpful or the efficient one when you are trying to integrate the existing frameworks. So there are frameworks developed by the tech companies, as I mentioned already. So Python is the code you can easily import and leverage the frameworks which is already available.
So there is another question from Anila Sharon. Is biometrics an application of AI?
What is that?
Biometrics. Biometrics is an application of artificial intelligence.
Exactly. Yes. So when you're using your thumb impression for unlocking your phone, right? So again, I'm just taking a mobile phone example because it will be easy connected, because everybody is using mobile phone, the smartphone nowadays. So when you're giving thumb impression, it unlocks the phone for you. So that means you have given your thumb impression the format to the system, and it learns from how the format of your thumb is. Once it is learned, then it will unlock the phone for you. So if you remember, when you're first registering your finger into the phone, you would have given a lot of different thumb signs, right? So it can understand how it is, how many the lines are there, different formats. Then later it can unlock for you. Similarly, this is one of the use case on the phone. Similarly, again, police department also uses the thumb impressions or the fingerprints to detect the frauds. So this is another use case for that. So it can understand how it is.
So Sri Krishnan, he has raised a question.
There are some.
Yeah, sure. Sri Krishna, he has raised a question. In artificial intelligence, how the system trained when pattern keeps changing?
When pattern keeps changing, you cannot train the system, which means when the pattern keeps changing, you need to give lot of more input. When the pattern changed, you need to give more input to the system to learn when the pattern changed. You cannot.
Okay, Mr. Sendil Palnisamy. So thank you so much. So thank you for giving us wonderful session on artificial intelligence. Hope our participants have enriched their knowledge in artificial intelligence. So this was a fruitful session for our people during this pandemic situation. So artificial intelligence in the future will just dominate the world, hope so. So with this, I thank Mr. Sendil Palnichami, who has wholeheartedly just delivered this session in a grandful manner. Thank you, Mr. Sendil Palnisamy. So I also thank our PSA management for organizing this webinar session, and our beloved head of the department, Dr. P. Jagannathan, for permitting us to do this webinar session. And also thank you all the participants who have participated in the session. So participants, your feedback link is being given in our comment session. So you can just fill your feedback and your certificates will be just generated within a week. If not so, your feedback link will also be mailed to your registered email ID. So thank you participants for patiently and enriching your knowledge on artificial intelligence. I just thank finally our webinar team, Dr. Kupusamy, Mr. Jay Ganesh and Dr. Rajkumar for wholeheartedly supporting for organizing this webinar session. And once again, I thank everyone for organizing this session. And I'm Dr. Gopiana, ending this session of artificial intelligence. Thank you. Thank you so much.